My name is Lauren Monroe. I'm 33 years old, and I live at 3701 West Cedar Avenue in Denver, Colorado. For most of my adult life, I was proud of how smoothly my career was moving along. I believed I had everything figured out. A secure position at a tech company called Apex Innovations, a growing list of achievements, and a best friend at work whom I trusted with my entire heart. Little did I know that this friend, Ashley, would lead me down a path so twisted that it nearly destroyed my life. I'll never forget the night I discovered her betrayal. It was long past midnight, and I sat alone in my kitchen, shaking from the weight of new evidence. My tears weren't just sadness, they burned with anger. I felt cheated, humiliated, and hungry for truth. In that moment, I made a promise to myself. No one would bury me under false accusations. I'd chase the truth, no matter how far it took me, no matter what it cost. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear my own breathing. But something inside me, call it stubbornness or pride, refused to let me give up. Right then, I knew I was about to face one of the biggest fights of my life. I first met Ashley Reed at Apex Innovations when I was asked to mentor new employees. She seemed sweet and unguarded, a bright spot in an often stressful workplace. I'd catch her humming along to songs under her breath, always with that laid-back grin. She was about 4 years younger than me, and I found her excitement about the tech world downright refreshing. We bonded over tiny things at first, a shared love of street tacos, brainstorming sessions that went late into the night, and joking about the guys in our team who acted like we were invisible. It wasn't long before Ashley and I were sharing jokes that no one else understood and saving each other seats at company events. She introduced me to her fiancé. I showed her pictures of my parents. When she had family visiting from out of state, I gave her my best tips on places to explore in Denver. Everyone at the office would say we were like sisters. Honestly, I was proud of our bond. I'd seen so many cutthroat behaviors in tech, but Ashley always seemed different, nurturing, open, and grateful for my advice. Though we worked for a fast-growing software company, the day-to-day was anything but glamorous. We had looming deadlines, intense sprints, and endless code reviews. Still, I found a piece of normalcy in Ashley, who listened to my complaints without judging. Occasionally, I'd notice her curiosity lingering on my screen or scanning documents I left on my desk. But it seemed harmless. She asked me about older projects I'd completed, especially ones that had earned me big praise from the boss. I thought she was just eager to learn, so I never questioned her intentions. In fact, I fed her curiosity. I explained my approach to data handling, how I managed tight timelines, and how I juggled tasks so I could deliver quality work. Part of me enjoyed this mentor role, feeling proud to pass along knowledge that had taken me years to collect. But if I'm honest, there were tiny sparks of concern that I ignored. Sometimes Ashley's eyes would flash with something I couldn't name. She'd downplay my successes by calling me the golden child, as if it was just a silly nickname. But her laughter felt hollow. There was the occasional offhand remark about how I always got the best projects. Still, I told myself that we all get jealous sometimes. I convinced myself that people's small jabs don't always mean they plan to harm us. But in my quietest moments, the back of my mind whispered, "Pay attention. People aren't always who they seem." Yet the day came when everything exploded without warning. It started with an early morning email from the company's CEO, Michael, demanding I appear at an urgent meeting. My stomach flipped. Urgent matters, especially those involving the CEO and human resources, never spelled good news. The meeting turned into a real-life nightmare. They accused me of leaking top-secret client data from our biggest account. The stolen data was traced back to my login credentials. Even the building's security logs indicated that I, Lauren Monroe, had accessed the office late one Friday night to send confidential files to a competitor. My mouth went dry. I hadn't even been in Denver that night. I was out of town for a wedding. But the footage they had, though blurry, showed someone wearing a baseball cap entering my office. Worse, these so-called facts didn't just put my job in danger. They threatened me with potential legal charges. And in that tense conference room, with everyone's eyes drilling into me, I felt paralyzed. Ashley sat quietly in the corner, avoiding my gaze, looking fragile and worried. She shook her head as though she too was baffled. I clung to the hope that maybe she would defend me, but she stayed quiet. That silence wasn't just a red flag. It was a cannon blast in my face. I left that room with a trembling stack of formal documents, telling me I was suspended without pay. I had never felt such a swirl of humiliation, fury, and heartbreak in my entire life. Walking back to my desk to gather my things felt like walking through a haunted maze. People peeked from behind computer screens, some eyes full of pity, others with curiosity. The betrayal I felt wasn't just professional, it was personal. Ashley trailed behind me, reaching out to pat my shoulder. She whispered she was sorry and that she'd stand by me no matter what. But in that moment, I realized she had all the keys to my destruction, literally. Not long ago, I had given her a spare key to my home for pet sitting, and she'd known the ins and outs of my daily schedule. My mind whirled with half-formed questions. Did she copy my card? Did she know my passwords? I shoved those thoughts aside, still clinging to the last shred of trust I had in her. I mean, we'd practically been sisters, right? As I trudged out of the building, clutching a sad cardboard box of desk trinkets, I couldn't shake this chilling sense that I was stepping into a long, dark tunnel with no clue where it led. That night, I tumbled down a spiral of panic and suspicion that nearly consumed me. My phone buzzed with messages from coworkers, some supportive, some less so. A few offered their sympathy, while others seemed eager for gossip. My own family tried to cheer me up, but I could barely speak. My hands shook whenever I thought of the possibility of criminal charges. How would I pay for lawyers? Would I go to jail for something I didn't do? Late at night, I tore through my email archives and personal files, searching for any clue that could clear my name. But the more I looked, the darker my thoughts became. If someone had staged this so perfectly, they probably knew how to cover their tracks. Strangely, in the middle of the chaos, Ashley kept popping up at my apartment with coffee or dinner. She'd sit on my couch, her eyes brimming with sympathy as I ranted about the injustice of it all. She'd say, "I know you, Lauren. You would never do this." Then she'd glance at my open laptop, or a folder of notes where I scribbled down possible suspects, times, and logs. I tried to believe she was genuinely worried, but deep down, my gut twisted. I recalled how she'd made that odd remark about my keycard a few weeks before the leak. I remembered the time she casually borrowed my laptop just for a second to check something, and I recalled the subtle jabs about my success. Still, my heart argued, she's your best friend. She's the one person who should be defending you. But while the fear ate at me, a spark of rage fanned into flame. This wasn't fair. I refused to let anyone label me a criminal. I started rummaging through old backups, scanning receipts, and peeking at building records I'd managed to save over time. Rage turned into determination. I needed more evidence. I wasn't sure who set me up, but I was done sitting back like a helpless victim. If I had to dig through every line of code or check every second of security footage, so be it. At least I could cling to this anger, which felt more powerful than despair. So I pressed on, promising myself I wouldn't rest until I uncovered the truth. And if it turned out my best friend was behind it, I intended to make her regret every lie she spun. The turning point came when I confided in Kevin, a colleague I'd trained. He was the kind of guy who always wore headphones and cracked code with quiet dedication. Despite keeping to himself, he was well-liked and known for his honesty. When I told Kevin what had happened, he looked me in the eye and said, "I've never believed for a second that you'd betray us." Those words offered a rare surge of hope in my stormy mind. We devised a plan. Kevin would comb through internal records from his station, checking for anything suspicious or out of place. He promised to be discreet, but it was risky. If he got caught snooping, he could lose his job. Yet he pressed on, telling me he owed me for all the times I'd helped him out. I waited anxiously for days, drumming my fingers on my coffee table, jumping each time my phone buzzed. When Kevin finally called, the excitement in his voice made my heart leap. "Meet me near the side exit in the parking garage," he whispered. That cloak and dagger tone made me smile for the first time in forever. We met under the flickering light of a garage lamp. Kevin glanced around, then handed me a small USB flash drive. "I found this tucked behind a desk in Ashley's cubicle," he said quietly. "It has your name all over it, literally. You need to check this out." I raced home like my life depended on it, which, in many ways, it did. Using a spare computer, I opened the drive. Instantly, I found folders containing client data that matched the stolen files. My stomach churned when I saw a text file full of instructions on how to frame someone, and in huge letters, it bore my initials. LM. I nearly threw up when I saw lines like, use Lauren's login details, send data to Zenith, and even confirm sabotage date. Friday. My chest tightened. Ashley had been planning this for weeks, maybe months. I recalled the times I'd taught her how to run data scripts or explained my approach to security checks. She must have taken notes, weaponizing my knowledge against me. A tear escaped my eye, not of sorrow but of sheer anger. Yet beneath the rage, a flicker of relief glowed. I had proof. Someone actually believed me and gave me the ammunition I needed to clear my name. I wasn't the type to sit around waiting for good luck. With the flash drive in hand, I decided it was time to confront my bosses, but I wanted to do it in a way that exposed Ashley in front of everyone who had doubted me. So I asked for a meeting with the CEO and HR, telling them I had vital evidence that would end this nightmare. They agreed to set something up the next morning. My main demand was that Ashley be present. Pretending to be supportive, she'd said she'd come too. She probably believed she could talk her way out of anything or paint me as a liar. But I had an ace up my sleeve: law enforcement. Once I provided the files and could explain how Ashley orchestrated every step, the police were prepared to act. I couldn't sleep that night, nerves twisting my stomach into knots. I kept imagining Ashley's reaction. Part of me still couldn't believe that she, my friend who once babysat my cat, was the person behind this elaborate frame job. But another part of me, hardened by everything I'd experienced, felt ready to see her downfall. If she had the gall to try and ruin my life, she deserved what was coming. At around 3 a.m., I closed my eyes and forced myself to rest. Tomorrow was going to be the biggest day of my life, a showdown I might only get one shot at. The next morning, the conference room was tense as I arrived. My breathing felt shallow, but I kept my posture steady. Michael, the CEO, sat at one end of the table. Dana from HR was there, along with 2 senior VPs and the head of IT security. Ashley came in last, her face a calm mask of curiosity. The moment she locked eyes with me, I thought I saw a flicker of nerves. She probably wondered what I planned to show. I started by calmly laying out my alibi. Plane tickets, text messages, time-stamped photos, proving I wasn't even in Denver the night the data was stolen. I showed them how easily someone with access to my personal items could have pulled off the breach. Then I plugged in the USB drive and let the files speak for themselves. With each revealed document, my colleagues gasped or glanced around in shock. I displayed actual messages from Ashley, references to my login info, and steps on how to avoid detection. My finger hovered over the final piece, an email chain between Ashley and someone at Zenith, detailing the handoff of stolen data. Ashley jumped from her seat, stammering, "This is fake, she's framing me," but her wide eyes and panicked voice told another story. Before she could storm out of the room, 2 uniformed officers appeared in the doorway. "Ashley Reed," one said calmly, "we need to speak with you regarding evidence of corporate espionage." She lost it, screaming that I'd tricked everyone, hurling accusations that I was the real villain. She kicked a chair in a desperate attempt to flee. I watched with a strange mixture of triumph and sorrow as the officers cuffed her. She screeched my name with such fury that her voice cracked, yelling that I'd stolen her chance to shine. I felt a pang in my chest, seeing how deeply her envy ran. But any sympathy I had left was buried under the wave of relief. My name was finally cleared. I wasn't the traitor, they knew it now. The entire room was silent except for Ashley's angry shouts as they led her away. In the days that followed, the office atmosphere shifted like a broken puzzle, resetting itself. News spread about Ashley's arrest, and there was a messy scramble to fix the damage she'd caused. Management apologized profusely for ever doubting me. The CEO personally asked me to stay, sweetening the offer with a hefty bonus and the position I'd always dreamed of. My co-workers, many of whom had looked at me with suspicion, now approached me with tearful eyes and soft voices. They admitted they felt guilty for not defending me or for questioning my innocence. It felt validating, but also strange. I realized how quickly people can change their tune when confronted with the truth. Ashley's legal case moved fast. Given the amount of evidence, she eventually pled guilty, and rumors hinted at a deal that would still mean prison time. I wasn't sure how I felt about that. While I was glad she was facing justice, a part of me remembered the sweet girl who'd once called me her mentor. I wondered what had snapped in her mind, what drove her to risk everything just to climb the ladder faster or prove she was better than me. Late at night, I grieved that loss of friendship. I remembered our inside jokes, our shared dinners, and silly texts. Now, those memories felt like tiny daggers. She wasn't who I thought she was, and that hurt far more than any professional trouble. Eventually, I realized the place I once loved, Apex Innovations, now held too many ghosts. Even though I was officially named the new project team lead, and people treated me like a hero, I felt hollow. My heart wasn't in it anymore. My final day was surprisingly quiet. Just me packing up my office, slipping out before noon. I knew the skills, the references, and the settlement money gave me freedom to start fresh somewhere else. I left feeling oddly at peace. I might have walked away with scars, but I also walked away with my dignity. It's been a year now. Time has dulled the sting, though I still have nights where I dream about that conference room showdown. Today, I'm at a different tech firm that prides itself on honesty and teamwork. I lock my computer screen the moment I step away from it, and I'm careful about trusting new coworkers, but I haven't let my heart turn cold. People can still be allies. They can still prove themselves worthy of trust. Looking back, I see how betrayal can come from places you'd never expect. I see how fear and envy can warp someone's heart. But I also see how standing up for the truth can reveal your own strength. If there's a lesson in all this, it might be that trusting blindly can be dangerous, but never trusting at all is lonely. Another lesson is that if you ever find yourself in a dark place, you should fight like hell to bring your truth into the light. Sometimes it takes just one person, like Kevin was for me, to spark the change you need. Betrayal hurts deeply, but it doesn't have to define your future. You can start again. You can rebuild. You can learn to keep certain safeguards in place, like verifying who has access to your passwords, or carefully observing who stands by your side in hard times. Yet I don't believe in letting bitterness rule your life. Yes, you might feel an urge for revenge, but the best revenge sometimes is regaining control of your life and proving you can rise above the lies. I learned that lesson the hard way. Now, when I see my reflection in the mirror, I feel a quiet confidence I never had before. I know I'll never forget Ashley's betrayal. I also know I'll keep moving forward, forging my own success, and building real friendships that hold fast in life's storms. And that, I believe, is the best ending I could ever hope for.